Welcome to the swamp, the Great Lake where I grew up. Hey, welcome to PJNet Live. If you are watching this live, it is Tuesday about 9 p.m. Eastern. And we have Dale Didway coming up near the bottom of the hour, as always, on Tuesday night. But tonight, we have a special treat. And before I get started, I want to tip my hat in the most southern, gentlemanly way that I know how to Sunbelt Girl, Barbara, who has reached out to our guest tonight and made the arrangements for her to appear here. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Jann Martin. I've known her for about an hour. And she has lived most of her life as a bureaucrat in her career. But, well, I'm going to let her share it, okay? Let me bring... hey, Jann, come on in the studio here and let's... welcome to PJNet Live, Jann. Good to see you.
Hi.
I was trying to... you sent me this nice bio, and I was trying to stumble through it. And I kind of get the picture that you were just a career bureaucrat type worker for several years, and then now you've gone beyond writing. You've gone to working with writers to help them in their career. I think what I saw in common, correct me if I'm wrong, what's driving you is just a love for children.
Absolutely. I have worked with kids my whole life, and they're our future, so we need to make sure that they grow strong lives and learn what they can about God.
Now, how many books total have you written?
I have 8 published, but I pulled the series that I have, the 7, because we found something we wanted to make some changes in it. So I'm working on the changes right now.
Okay.
But the Christmas book is still out and available.
Okay, and that's the one where your heart's at, because folks, there's an amazing story here, and I don't want to preempt it or take her thunder. But Jann, if I understood you correctly, you were tasked with reading a Christmas story to children during a worship service.
Yes, at the family Christmas Eve service. And the first 2 years I read the books, and then the third year I couldn't find one that I really felt called to read. And I'm sitting in my office, and it's like, okay, Lord, what do I do now? And this little voice said, you're writing it. And I go, no, I don't know how to do that. So he said, yes. And I said, okay, but you got to help. And couldn't believe it. I sat there and started typing, and this whole story came out. So it was... Now,
the presentation you made in that church worship service, or Christmas Eve, whatever it was, how long of a presentation was it exactly, or approximately?
About 18 minutes, maybe.
That's quite a bit.
So
that's a sermon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about as long as my sermons were.
Yeah. And so now you wrote this out, and I guess you just kind of went and put it on there as a Word document on your computer, and then you rushed down to Office Depot or somewhere like that and said, print this out and spiral bound it.
I did, and I added pictures from a website that so it looked like a picture book.
Probably hijacked the pictures, didn't you?
No, I found free ones.
Oh, okay. And you still and this manuscript, you didn't really think of it as a manuscript at the time. That was just what you were reading to him, and you still have the original copy that you used.
I do. I still do. It's titled different, but this is what I did.
So your first book was published by Office Depot. Is that fair?
I printed it off at church, and then they bound it for me.
Oh, okay. So you're at the church office and saying, I got this thing I'm reading tonight. So, okay, so you got, I say you got through. Was the reaction on that year different than the previous two from the children and the audience in general?
Yes, the kids sat still, completely still through the whole story this time. And as I was greeting people as they were leaving church, few of them asked where they could get the book, that they thought that was the best one that I had read yet. And I said, well, hang on, I'll go print you one. And
I've only
they
got
said,
I've only got one copy.
yeah. I said, I'll print you one and staple it together. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they said, no, you need to get it published. Well, I thought about it for about 5 minutes and let it go because I didn't know anything at all about the publishing world. I had no idea what you do, how you do it, who do you even talk to. So I just kind of let it go
So it sat there, and you just went on with your life.
until February when I happened to meet an author and she connected me with her publisher.
And you say
And
you just happened to meet an author.
I did. I was at a store and the manager introduced me to the author, and then she called her publisher and organized a meeting between us. So and then when I met with her, I had a signed contract by the end of February, and then by late September, I had the books in my hand. It was, she's told me, she said, this is definitely a God thing. She says, I have never had a first time author have a book put together and printed so fast. She said, it was just incredible.
Well, it took them a lot longer than it took to run it off at the copy machine. I mean,
It did.
how many copies did they publish?
The first printing was 2000.
2,000. Is that
And
the
then
typical deal? Now that you have some experience, is that a typical entry point?
I would do this differently if I did it again because I had to pay for this. At the 2000 copy, it was a better price break per copy.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so it, but I had from Thanksgiving to Christmas, I had 52 book signings and almost sold out of my 2000 books. There was
Now,
books sold on Amazon and Borders at the too.
yeah, I remember Borders. So,
Yeah,
and when you said Thanksgiving through Christmas, that's of the same year.
yes,
52 book signings basically in what, 5 weeks?
yes, along with work and family and
How in the world did you arrange to have that many?
I just called all the churches and gift shops and bookstores, and then I was at three different Borders, I believe. And there's even a store up in Traverse City, Michigan, way up north, that has my books on their shelf. So I shipped them up to them.
Well, you had to sell them because you had 2,000 of them, and
I did.
what do you do? Put them in the trunk of your car and just lug them out, and
Yeah, I did. I have a bag and it has a picture of the book on the front, and every time I was out, people would ask what the pictures on the bag were about, and I tell them about my book and show it to them, and I'd be sitting in waiting rooms and walking around the store and just sell people copies of them.
might as
So
well
I'm
go into a flea market while you're at it. I mean, just
Oh, I went to craft sales and I've sold a lot at farmers markets.
oh, okay, okay.
I'm not afraid to go anywhere.
Apparently not. Well, and like I say, you kind of had to because you had invested in that press run. So now, I said that's an amazing number of book signings or appearances in a short time. But since it is in fact a Christmas story, I mean, you kind of knew that if you didn't do it then, the effect later would be diminished, I would assume.
Yes, yes. It's a very short window to sell these.
Kept you busy. So would you also speak at some of these things? Did people have you address the audience, or were you just hanging out in the balcony or what's that thing called, a vestibule,
Yeah.
in the church?
No, there were several churches that I was the guest speaker, and I talked about the book and how it came about, and then I read the story and then sold copies of the books at the end.
So they'd already heard it and wanted to buy it anyway.
Yep.
Now, how much public speaking experience did you have at that time?
Oh, I quite a bit actually. I preached for about 4 years. I've led many women's retreats. So
Okay. So
it's not something brand new to me.
you were comfortable with that.
Hmm.
But you'd never written a book, but nonetheless.
No.
Okay. Now, yeah, we keep talking about the book. Would you tell us what this book is about?
It's called This Babe So Small, and it's the nativity told through the eyes of the innkeeper's daughter. And I found out not too long ago, a woman I met through Twitter is Jewish, and her mother was here from Israel, and she bought a copy to take back to her class with her kids. She appreciated the fact that the rabbis are talking in the story.
Mm-hmm.
So she took it back to them and shared the story with them.
Amazing. Okay, so you get off to this incredible jump start in a writing career that you just kind of stumbled into more or less.
Yep.
Would your Google search had found some suitable material, that book never would have been written.
No. No, if I had found something I felt was appropriate for that Christmas, I would have just bought it.
Mm-hmm.
I think God had a hand in all of this.
I said earlier, I see his fingerprints all over this. The chat room, Doug Carter in the chat room says, "This is an epic story. Love it."
Thank you.
Yes, it is.
He does wonderful things.
Yeah. And Rachel Colby says, "Well, hi everyone." Oh, that isn't about the book. We have an incredible chat room. Thanks for all you who have joined us here at PJNet Live for our double header that seems to be more the norm now than the exception. We will have Del Didway coming up in just a few moments and near the bottom of the hour, something like that. Okay, so inspired by this just amazing out of the starting gates, you feel now that you're going to go write some books and get published, and you start pursuing a writing career. How'd that work out?
I got started and the writing came along pretty well, but I don't have the platform to sell, like, God inspired these books, but he's not helping me sell them like he did the Christmas book.
Mm-hmm.
And I met a man on LinkedIn, and he was helping me learn more of what I needed to do to build my platform and be able to sell my books better than just on my own like I had been. And ended up joining with him and his partner, and I bought in, and I'm now a partner in Authors Community, where we help authors meet each other, discuss and learn all the different aspects of being a writer and getting published.
Now, you're also involved, now, since your career kind of went down this road, now you're involved in a couple of other projects. Or there's two websites. Is that the same project with two different websites?
It's two different portions of it.
Okay.
Authors Community is where you can go to get help with publishing. All the different, editors, proofreading, illustrators, and everything. We get the books ready to publish. Mm-hmm. We don't do the publishing.
Right.
And then another division that we have is called eBook Christian. And this is dedicated to bringing back God into our society and helping readers find wholesome, family-friendly literature. We're trying to bring really good books out to the forefront. We have a big social media presence where we're advertising the books for our authors and help them get out there.
Yeah, I saw something on Facebook today. It seems like some of the outlets, I won't say they're trying to restrict Christian literature, or fiction or nonfiction, but the topic centered around the idea that if you try to start advertising on those platforms, that they're pushing back. Have you heard anything like that or experienced anything like that?
I haven't yet. We don't. All of our books aren't Christian books. We don't talk religion in all of them, but they're clean, friendly books
Wholesome.
that
Yeah.
anybody can read. Usually with an undertone of trying to get a message about God out. Um,
But it's not the central theme, but it's wholesome and clean
mhm.
and family friendly type stuff. And that's
Yes,
great. Do you think of yourself as being retired? Do you think of this as a hobby, or do you feel like you're just a professional, that this is what you do?
I thought I was going to retire until God changed my path. And when I look at the hours I put in, I absolutely love what I'm doing, but I think it's really a full-time job.
It is. Yeah. It's just part-time pay, I guess.
Not even that, but
Yeah.
very fulfilling.
Well, that is a wonderful story. Jan, thanks for sharing with us. And the title of that book, again, it's available on Amazon. The title is
This Babe So Small.
This Babe So Small, inspired by a Google search that failed to produce anything worthwhile.
Yep.
When Google comes up short, just write the book yourself. That
Yep.
works.
God will help you.
God was right on time with that one. Well, Jan, thanks for sharing your story. It's an inspiration to all of us, and it's just more evidence to me, that God is working through Christian writers at all levels, and it's just encouraging to hear your story. And thanks for sharing with us tonight.
Thanks for letting me be here.
I didn't really mean to. Hold on a minute. Let me get back to reality. There. Okay. Jann W. Martin. What a story. You may think you're not a writer. I don't think I'm a writer, but if God wants you to write something, by golly, it seems like God's going to get his way. All right, folks, what we're going to do. Del Didway is standing by in the green room. He'll be coming up in just a few moments. I will need some time to retool the PJNet Live studio to accommodate him, and we will be back around the bottom of the hour. In the meantime, enjoy some wonderful inspirational videos and Sunbelt Girl Take the Helm, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.